Hello everyone. We're moving into week 7. The time is really flying. In this video, we'll cover the substantial topic of social change. That's the topic for Learning Module 7. And then we'll spend a few minutes covering your final project. Remember that the final project is the end result of the work you've done in the course and built on from the course milestones. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk substantially in this unit about the concept of social change. What do we mean when we are saying that this is the only constant? Well, a constant is something that does not change. So essentially what we're saying is the only thing that does not change is change. Your text in the module overview defines social change as the transformation, add-on modification of culture over time. This can be done consciously, as when there are concerted efforts, what we call them social movements, or through more non-reflexive shifts, such as the development of technology and all the unintended consequences that come with that. So I'll provide a couple of examples here as we move through this part of the video. First, let's define what a social movement is. A social movement is a conscious, organized effort. It's any social group that is organized, has leadership, and has an ideological commitment to social change. Think about Mothers Against Drunk Driving or the marriage equality movement. These effectively change the culture. In the case of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, there are strict lower limit legal definitions of what it means to drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Because of the marriage equality movement, same-sex marriage is now the law of the land. Although any social movement, though, with any ideological bent is a social movement, from Antifa to the Tea Party. To the extent that social movements can coalesce and develop a cohesive agenda with some modicum of real political power, they stand some chance of success. Some succeed, others do not. Technology has a profound effect on social change, or should we say the invention and adaptation of technology has an effect on social change. We tend to think of technology colloquially as fancy new television, flat screens, or new generations of smartphones. But with technological advances, the manipulation of non-material culture, if you remember that from earlier in the course, ideas, values, practical knowledge, becomes uncoupled from the physical reality, the need to transmit it orally or in writing, and it becomes available in some what we call hyper-reality. That's the web, the World Wide Web, the internet. This literally, sadly, bleeds over into the physical world, sometimes in ways that we're becoming very aware of. We know now of police-citizen interactions where there is at least some evidence that in some cases the police are violent unnecessarily. There are cameras everywhere. Surveillance, from the French word sur, meaning above, in terms of electronics, has been with us in terms of closed-circuit television monitors in hospitals, stores, police stations, banks, and so forth, probably since the late 1950s. What is possible now with the advent of cell phone technology, smartphones, and everybody having a camera on them, and it's a profound development, is the emerging concept of surveillance. Sous is from the French word meaning below. That's when people videotape police interactions or any sort of interaction and put them on Facebook. Observation from below. So, the second example of technology driving social change that we're going to talk about is a topic that some of you are researching for your final paper. That's cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is bullying done through the use of social media, public online imagery, and texts. Here's data from the Pew Charitable Trust. Let me move my face out of here and up here for a moment. Great. The Pew Trust is the United States' most reliable survey center for a range of all sorts of social topics, including religious behaviors, political views, and in this case, cyberbullying. This is from a recent survey. Note that even though cyberbullying is a new form of bullying, about 67% of adolescents who are bullied report that they experience this bullying behavior offline more than they do online. So the change from offline bullying to online bullying is by no means, one has not replaced the other. To get a sense of what cyberbullying means in historical context, we have to be able to look at a timeline of this information. Let's look at a timeline of cyberbullying for a moment. This is from an excellent website I found called Time Toast. And this was authored by a person named Francisco Galvez. So, he looked at the history of cyberbullying and how it has progressed, and it's fascinating. Each of these are clickable things. For example, MySpace was formed in 2003. Let me get me out of the way here. For those of you who for this is a distant or non-existent memory, MySpace is a precursor to Facebook, and it was very popular. Okay, so Facebook, 2006, Facebook opens to the public, reaches 100 million users. Instagram, and July 1st, 2011, we have the possibility of cyberbullying. But this begins, 100 million people in 2008 are using Facebook. Instagram is founded and becomes popular for some. School and law enforcement efforts to combat cyberbullying. Okay, but we see the emergence. Basically by the time social media takes hold. Okay. And we're talking, it really, I think I had a MySpace account, and then, I had a Facebook account starting I was an early adapter in 2000 2006. I've had my Facebook for 12 years. With this, we see the potential for cyberbullying, and it begins. Okay, so we see this is a list of articles, really excellent articles. Here's the negative effects of cyberbullying have been documented. It becomes kind of a research topic. Okay, the article we give a typology of bullies. Okay, and then this article, which is comparatively recent, what happens is, we see the possibility of other problems emerging. But this is a really excellent overview of a timeline, of cyberbullying, right? Another example of technology and social change has to do with the death of the American shopping mall. Now, this first slide is particularly eerie because this was a mall, and 25 years ago, on the very site where this sign is wide over flat, and this is a dead mall. This was a food court where I used to eat. Go for lunch, when I was first starting off teaching in a community college system in Virginia. So this one was like, I had a real deja vu. But Here we look at here's Cloverleaf Mall again. You know, this is the very food court that I used to eat. It's Dead Mall. Okay. Okay. There's an ad. Here's a mall in Toledo, in Illinois. Here's a Dead Mall in Alabama. Macon Mall in Macon, Georgia. Here's a St. Charles, Illinois. Overland Park, Kansas. Frederick, Maryland. Blue Ridge Mall, Independence, Missouri. Okay. Here, DeWitt, New York. Asheville, North Carolina. Eastland Mall. Century Mall. Okay. Columbia, South Carolina. Kingsport, Tennessee. Antioch. Okay. So, anyway. So why did these shopping malls die? Well, I mean, the easy 10-cent answer is, oh, the internet, you know, everybody shops over the internet. Well, that's not exactly the entire story. One of the technological changes, social changes that came about, also caused the economic disaster of 2008. And that is it was not merely the internet that killed malls. There's still plenty of malls. I mean, they open, different strip malls and stuff open up, you know, and there's a dying mall near me in Cincinnati, and then one, an upscale one up the road that does very well. But, you know, malls, overall, you know, are dying, you know, in record number. Yes, the internet played a prominent, you know, internet shopping at least played a prominent role in the death of the American shopping mall. The other thing that happened was that the money that was made from building malls was not made in extracting rent from the mall, okay, but was made from packages of what are called derivatives, which were, they would write a piece of paper that said, we expect X amount of revenue from this shopping mall. And that was called derivative. And those were sold as if they were real commodities, those derivatives. And with the collapse of that entire, and it's coming back, it's cyclical, unfortunately. With the collapse of this, malls financing became uncoupled the way they made their money from the actual retail, you know, stores. And so once these were built, you know, they were automatically, they had this sort of their death, you know, wired into them. Okay, so malls are the other example of something that is dying. Our last example of technology and social change has to do with the death of the landline. Again, I personally got rid of my landline in, it was 2011. So I was an early adapter with the cell phone only, particularly for people in my age cohort. Right? An age cohort is a grouping of people by ages, you know, and I'm in the, I think I'm in the 55 to 64 group now. Congratulations to me. But this is landline phones are a dying breed. Okay. Now 52. You know, this is the line cell phone only, 52.5, and this is from 2004. Okay, by now this is 2017. Of course, we have a year lag. It's the last time they collected information. Or they're still collecting it, but they haven't processed it, of course, obviously for obvious reasons for 2018 yet. But by the end of 2017, only 43.8% of households had a landline, and that was up from 52.5% of households, including my own, just have a cell phone. I may be changing it. That may change with the advent of that there's a way I can run something like a landline through my computer, and for my purposes of my business, I may do that. But this is and if we look at the age data, and there are surveys, I was trying to find a survey done. This survey was done by Felix Richter, and it would have been, this is a number in the United Kingdom. So basically, landline phones could become an endangered species, much like the VCR and other technological relics behind it. So I hope you've enjoyed this little overview of technology, social movements, and social change, and how a lot of social change is conscious, by conscious groups, gaining their agenda, and a lot of social change that we have is just coincidental through this change in the technology. Okay, in this last part of the video, what I want to do is to go over not only Module 7, but more importantly, this is the week that by the end of the week, and the end of the week is going to be, it's going to be the 21st, you have completed your final project. Now I'm going to start with this, okay? Final submission, concept, map, and paper. Okay, it says here, right? Let's get down there. Submit your concept, map, and paper. It should be a complete, polished by artifact. That's a great word. A product, right? That's confusing, but containing all the critical elements of the final product. It should reflect the incorporation of feedback gained through the course and for milestones 1 through 3. So again, I want to remind you of this. We'll go back and look at milestones 1 and 3 here for a moment, and you are to use those and any feedback I gave you on milestone 1 and 3 to create your final project guideline. If you get pretty good feedback, and most of you did good work on module 1 and 3, you build on that and you bring that together in order to make your final paper. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, a concept map and paper. Okay, you've got your sociological issue down. You've got your concept map down. Okay, and you've got, let's look over this. I'm going to read this verbatim. Okay, this project is divided into 3 milestones. Parenthetical comment, please review these milestones, which will be submitted at various points throughout the course to scaffold learning. Scaffold, like you're working on the outside of a house. So, you draw on modules 2, 4, and 5. So some of you ask me, well, should I copy? Yes, absolutely. You take whatever, you've developed in those modules and incorporate it in your final paper. And if you've done well on these modules, it should be relative. It's just a case of bringing them together. The final concept map will be submitted in module 7. Again, explain cultural beliefs and biases using sociology, a perspective, using the influences that shape the creation of roles, using real-world examples, connections between inequalities and human behavior, and the relationship between social change and contemporary social problems through the application of basic concepts. Now, that's kind of broad. We're looking again at your specific topic for these, and you all have mapped this out pretty well. Lots of people are doing bullying, and if a lot of people are doing bullying, and I've provided you some examples here: drug and alcohol abuse, income inequality. So, you'll create a concept map, and you've done that already. And I've offered you at some point some critiques. Okay. I don't ever want to see someone trying to explain a social phenomenon using a single cause. Like the introduction of, foreigners brought drugs and dangerous drugs. No, they didn't, I'm afraid. Or people are poor because they spend their money on wisely. That's not a good explanation, Most of you have done this work already, and you're going to do fine. Just bring it together, okay? You're going to, so you get a concept and you write a brief paper, okay? So look at the rubric. Let's go back and look at the rubric, okay? Let's look at the rubric for the paper, okay? Okay, so there's the concept map. There's the critical elements, okay? And you've combined, you've milestone 1, you selected a topic in module 2. Milestone 2 was in module 4, you mapped it. You created connections. In module 7, you bring all this together, okay? You're going to be graded, the guideline for submission, the final project rubric. It's a concept map and a 3 to 4 page paper, plus cover pages and references. For this course, we use American Psychological Association, or APA style citations and references. Please go to the Shapiro Library page if you don't know what I'm talking about, and watch their video. And there's also a video embedded at the beginning of this course that will tell you about how to do this. Okay? So you've got all these elements. It's up to you to review these elements. Okay? And then to combine milestones 1, 2, and 3, into your final project. You've already done the work. You don't need to don't reinvent the wheel. The milestones are designed so that by the time you get to this point, it's mainly an editing and a bringing together. And what I would do, what I suggest to do from the and this is take a page from the professional world. You've got a concept map. Most of you did a very elegant job of doing that. All you need to do is reiterate and write a description of what you have in the concept map, using the kind of the headings, as a template for organizing your work. You don't need to write anything different. It's not a creative writing exercise. It's an exercise in how to how to write. Sociology and all the social sciences are sciences, so they're going to err on the kind of side of technical, clean technical writing. Okay, so please keep this in mind as you move forward. I'll be around to answer questions throughout the week, and I'll be getting your grades in by Wednesday. Thank you.